Welcome to Ubu Dub number 8, and I am beyond excited that I finally managed to persuade Mr. Johnny Dromette to speak with me on the Ubu Dub podcast. We have split it into 2 parts, so this is the first, and although we will be coming to our next release of By Order of Mayor Paulicki,
it's all about the magic beats. That's what it's about. We're going to hear about it all again, all again, all again. Oh, it's all about the magic beats. Let's go.
Paulicki, which is being released in May by Cherry Red Records. This is more concentrating on the earlier years. He has so much to say. He was there at the very, very beginning. Enjoy. Welcome to Ubu Dub, and we're joined by Johnny. Now, Johnny, do I call you Johnny Dromette or?
Well, let's not use Dromette every time, but you can. Johnny's kind of a figment of my imagination, and so I'm cautious about who gets to call me Johnny. You can, David can. I guess people I don't know can. But
who can't is more the question.
But when people kind of like I know call me John, I'm thinking they're looking for something.
I feel that when people call David Dave, it's like, you don't know him at all. You just don't know him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Dromette, I presume, comes from the name of your record shop, which, of course, was really and truly hugely instrumental in the start of everything. Tell us about your record shop.
Well, I named myself after the store. The store was originally named rather plagiaristically, but it was originally named Hidio's Discodrome. And I say plagiaristically because there was a thing on a Firesign Theater album for a place, an imaginary place called Hideo Nuts Boltsadrome, where you got to, where ordinary people could pit their might against toasters and other household appliances.
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Explain. How do you put yourself against a toaster?
Well, because these toasters were equipped with a stomping and seizing module that will keep a man punching for hours.
Oh.
Hours until he is drunk with power. So
that sounds like the kind of toaster I need.
I like that bit, and then also I just liked. I like the word drome because it's kind of a mid-century modern 50s retro suffix. In Cleveland, there was one other drome around, which was the Euclid Roller Drome, which was a roller skating rink. So I actually went out to the roller drome one time. I go, what do you mean there's another drome in town? I better find out about it. And so it was a name that really reflected, a complete lack of marketing sense like we would have. Everybody just started saying the drome. It's just the drome.
Yeah.
And that's just so much easier. Before that, only my grandfather, who is also named John, who I am named after, he is the only person that called me Johnny up to that point.
Oh.
But I was thinking of a more sleazy, slimy Johnny, and that's what he was, I'm sure. That's why, there was a show that David gave, a disaster drone show out in Los Angeles. I don't remember, was that in the 90s, I think. And so he asked if he could use the disaster drone name. I said, yeah, I like any kind of, publicity and recognition. And then he went further with it, the publicity stated that Johnny Dromette presents. And I think this excited some of the fans, and we kind of pretended, on a certain level, we were pretending that Johnny Dromette was managing this show, which, in fact, all I was doing was selling T-shirts outside at the merch table. David really took it further than even I knew, because secretly, since I was outside selling T-shirts, I didn't really know what was happening on the stage. And David, was telling people that Johnny Dromette is presenting the show and all that, which that would have pleased me had I known that. But at the time, there were things, as with the original Disaster Drone shows in Cleveland, which we'll get to if we get back to chronological order here. People were thinking, I was really in charge. And so there was a moment, I'm out at the merch table, and one of the roadies, or, I don't forget what the proper term for it, the guys that work for the theater in Los Angeles,
the crew,
comes up
the backstage crew.
Comes up to me at the merch table and grabs me, and he goes, because I'd met him briefly, when I arrived, early for the show, and I was setting up the merch table, and he goes, "This is really fucked up, man. Everything is going wrong at this show. You are the..." And David had told him to do this, but I had no idea. And so when the guy first grabbed me, because he was a big guy, I was kind of scared. Then I figured out on the fly what was really happening. And then I thought, okay, well, my job is not to be scared. My job is to play the part like I'm scared and, act like Johnny Dromette had acted in years past when things really were fucked up at the show.
Yeah.
And see, and I tell him, look, I'm just doing the best I fucking can.
Well,
And it was the best part, was that there was people from Los Angeles, near the table. Not a whole lot of them, because mostly they were, in the venue seeing the show. But when they saw this commotion going on around the merch table, they started to move in. Hey, let's watch this. I was still maintaining a safe distance, and maybe going back into the venue to bring their friends out to see.
Excellent.
Well, I thought, what a marvelous idea David must have had. And, there was some mileage there.
I mean, in a recent radio recording that David did when we were last in Cleveland, actually last November, he was asked about the very beginnings of the Cleveland scene, and he said there were really only 4 people responsible for it, and you were one of those people he named in those 4 people. I mean, the record shop, not only did you have David and Peter and I think some others that went on to be in the various groups under the Ubu Projects, Monica, working there. But I mean, so what was your drive to do this record shop? What was your mission?
I do love records. I'm not a very good or capable record collector that's all sort of, I don't know where my records are or anything like that at this point. I mean, I listen to music a lot, and I've always liked records. So the mission was to be a part of that. I always liked the slogan of the UK label Immediate. Small Faces were on there, and which was happy to be a part of the industry of human happiness.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, we all know the record business is a dismal likeness to happiness. There's plenty of other stuff in there which is not desirable, but the music itself is. And so, I dropped out of college while I was attempting that in North Carolina, and I started working for a chain record store called Record Bar that had 100 stores at its peak, and so I learned a lot about all kinds of records that way. And I got fired after a while. My regional manager felt that I was dealing dope out of the place, which I wasn't. I was using a lot of it. But it never occurred to me. I should have been dealing dope out of there, but that never occurred to me. And so he had the manager, the guy under him, who was the guy that hired me in the first place. And we were wonderful friends for years, but he sent my friend in to fire me. I went berserk and threw records at his balls, and, it was just terrible, and ruined what could have been probably a lifelong friendship that way. And went back to Cleveland, because that's where I'm from. And got a job at another record chain. I got fired from that one.
Don't tell me they thought you were serving dope too.
No, but they thought what was it's kind of like in Apocalypse Now where Brando says, "What, you don't approve of my methods?" And Martin Sheen says, I don't see any methods. So, because it was, like, I hadn't thought of the line yet, but it really was, unique ideas lead to prison. I'm a whack dude, that's, what can I say? And where do I get these whacked ideas? Listen to records. And what's so great about getting whacked ideas, listen to records? Because records, in their day, they don't perform the same function they did then. In their day, this is where the most freedom of expression existed. You could find out anything you needed to know via a phonograph record.
Yeah.
And, stuff they wouldn't tell you at school, stuff they wouldn't tell you about in Look magazine or Life magazine or, that sort of thing. So, it was the vehicle for freedom as I saw it.
First time you met David, tell us about that time. Do you even remember it? Or
Yes, yeah, I do. Peter had been working at the store, and I met Peter because he was working, and I think he had a record of being fired from different record store chain stores as well.
Uh-huh.
But he was working in a store not far from where the original Drome was, but before the Drome was open. And I went in there, and they had a nice bin of import records, so I was buying, Roxy Music and spin-off stuff and Can and the Krautrock and that sort of thing. And Peter brightened up when he saw me pawing through that stuff, and he goes, "Hey, if you like that stuff, you will really like the record my band is putting out."
Uh-huh.
And then he told me, "You go to Coventry Books, and buy the first Ubu single." And so that's how I first saw David's name and heard his voice. And then later, when my store, about 3 months later, I opened my store. Peter was right there first week looking for a job. And so I hired Peter, and then Peter one day brought David into the store. And David said, he said something like, "Oh, great, another record store. That's just what we need." And I don't know, that wasn't exactly, the praise that I like to get. but it said like, "Oh, this guy's interesting."
Yeah.
I knew it from listening to the records, but because by then Final Solution was out, we carried that, and I don't really remember the exact circumstances, but I got it in my mind that he would be good to work at the store because he certainly knew a lot about rock music.
Yeah.
And I was familiar with his writing from the Scene, magazine, and I always enjoyed it. It wasn't just dry reviews of pop music, but, there was plenty of, he wasn't really so much the reviewer like Peter was when Peter wrote in publications about music. David had like a whole cultural viewpoint that I really found appealing.
So the friendship got, pretty deep, and you guys shared a house. You're going to have to remind me, the Disco Drome home?
The Disco Home. As much as I would say, I had previously said, some of my marketing ideas were just too fucking obtuse. I do think in marketing terms, I can't just have a home. It has to be a disco home because that rhymes with Disco Drome.
Yeah.
We lived together for, I don't remember the exact number of years.
No offense, Johnny, because I adore you, and obviously I adore David, but I can't think to imagine the horror of you two sharing a house at a young age. What on earth did you two get up to?
Man, we held court. We drank a lot of coffee and smoked a lot of pot. And we had big plans for the whole world. And saw many hidden meetings and, bad science fiction movies we watched on TV and whatever, But it was very active, There was always a mission.
Yeah.
I guess I felt like it was like the house, when the period when David lived with me there, I felt the house was, it was kind of like the Johnny Carson show, we just sit at the table and have guest stars come in. Just have some coffee, maybe some pot, and let's just talk a bit here.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that, and then also, David's a lot tougher a personality than me. Come on, but David, and David had the history. You got to remember. I mean, I'm glad to be included when somebody makes a list of people who were helpful, or important in the Cleveland punk scene or new wave scene or whatever we want to call it. But, David predates me because he was in Cleveland. He was doing it. The Rocket from the Tombs was doing it while I was, back in Toledo managing a record store and, working on getting fired. So, I'm actually a latecomer, Electric Eels and stuff. This is before my time. I knew about it, because, I'd read the Scene magazine, came all the way to Toledo from Cleveland. I go, what a marvelous place Cleveland has turned out to be. They're so hip there. And I'd spend every other weekend I'd drive to Cleveland from Toledo.
But I mean, you mustn't play down your part in the Ubu story, because David often tells me, about how you would stand at the photocopier and you would work so hard getting this artwork, and then there's the famous story about you delivering albums to New York record shops in plain, or in what artist was it that you delivered?
We would, I think it can be told now, if it hasn't been, that yes, me and the other person who I'm not going to name because I don't know if they agree that it can be told. Yes, me and another person did make the Perubu the Human bootleg. I could get sued by Chrysalis or Photogram at this point. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking about the packaging, and so what we had was we figured, well, we'll get some empty covers somehow. And then we looked that up and like, oh geez, these are going to cost like 25 cents a piece. I don't know if we can afford that. So we started using all these empty covers that major record companies were bringing to our stores to decorate the store window, whatever. So, here's 25 empty Badfinger album covers. Here's, like we're going to fill our whole window with Badfinger, or, here's 25 this Patti Smith album. Or so what we did was, when we first got started packaging, we thought, well, maybe we get in trouble for using these empty covers in this way. So we would spray paint them black, and then we would slap a sticker, about 4 inches square on there. It'd say The Human, live at Tri-City Mall and live at Club Wow. And that's how the first ones came out. Well, I don't think we'd done more than 100 or so that way when, we said, oh, God, we'll never get through the whole 1,000 this way. Yeah. I'll just put it right on. Just put it right on the cover, right over where it says Badfinger, right over where it says Patti Smith, we'll just do it that way. So we had an assortment. So when we went up to New York to try to sell, boatloads of these albums, we made a couple of sales by phone before we went to New York. There was probably 6 or 7 stores up there you had to hit. And we walk to the store and get them, 10. Okay, here's 10 Badfinger covers. Well, we don't want them in that. I mean, those other guys down the street, they got Patti Smith covers. I go, okay. We got Patti Smith covers. Hold on, let me go back to the car.
So there you go. And part 2 will be coming up extremely soon. In the meantime, Mr. David Thomas has been in the studio and he is getting the U-Men ready for download on the new Hiarpin page, which you can access via ubuprojects.com. Go to Uboutique and you will see the link there. And I'll see you back here with Johnny Dromette very soon.
It's me again! Yeah, it's me again!